Thomas was 74 years old and had nothing left. His wife had passed away 5 years ago. His children rarely called. His pension was barely enough to cover rent. He had $23.47 in his checking account, and no way to get more. He was at the grocery store, buying the cheapest items he could find: rice, beans, canned vegetables. As he stood in line, a young woman ahead of him was crying quietly. Her groceries were piled on the conveyor belt. The total was $147.32. She handed the cashier a card. "Declined," the cashier said flatly. The woman's face crumbled. "Try again," she whispered. "Declined," the cashier repeated. Thomas watched as the young woman began removing items, her hands shaking. She was maybe 30 years old, with hollow eyes that suggested she hadn't slept in days. She looked like someone drowning. Thomas stepped forward. "I'll pay for it," he said quietly. The woman looked at him, shocked. "No, I couldn't." "You can," Thomas said. He handed the cashier his debit card. The transaction went through. Thomas had paid $147.32. His account now had $0. The woman began to cry, not tears of gratitude, but tears of complete breakdown. "Why would you do that?" she asked. "You don't even know me." "Because," Thomas said simply, "sometimes we all need help." He left the store with nothing. No groceries, no money. But somehow, he felt lighter than he had in years. He didn't know that the young woman whose name was Claire was standing in that grocery store line after her third suicide attempt had failed. She was planning to go home and try again. She had nothing to live for. No job, no family, no reason to keep breathing. But an old man with $23.47 to his name had paid for her groceries. He'd seen her. He'd helped her. And in that moment, something shifted inside Claire. Someone cared. A complete stranger cared enough to give his last money. Claire went home and didn't harm herself. Instead, she cried for hours. She thought about that old man. She thought about the fact that someone with nothing had given everything. Over the next 6 months, Claire changed her life. She got help for her depression. She found a job. She worked overtime. She saved money. She rebuilt herself, piece by piece, knowing that somewhere out there was an old man who'd believed she was worth saving. She had to find him. She had to tell him that his kindness mattered, that it had saved her life. It took her 6 months of searching, checking with stores, reviewing credit card transactions, visiting neighborhoods. Finally, she found him. Thomas Chen, 74 Maple Street. She knocked on his door on a Wednesday afternoon. Thomas opened it, confused. He didn't recognize her at first. "You probably don't remember me," Claire said, tears streaming down her face. "6 months ago, at the grocery store. You paid for my groceries with your last money." Thomas's eyes filled with tears. "I remember. I was going to kill myself that day," Claire said quietly. "I was standing in that grocery line, completely broken, and you saw me. You helped me. And that one act of kindness saved my life. It literally saved my life." Thomas couldn't speak. "I'm here to tell you," Claire continued, "that your sacrifice mattered. I got help. I got a job. I got promoted. I'm alive. I'm healing. And it's because you believed I was worth saving." She handed him an envelope. Inside was $10,000, and a photograph of Claire smiling, genuinely smiling for the first time in years. "This is for you," Claire said. "But more than that, I want you to know, kindness without expectation of return is the most powerful force in the world. You gave me my life back." Thomas embraced Claire, and they stood in his doorway, two strangers bound by an invisible thread of compassion and grace. Sometimes, the person we help is the person who saves us in return.